Hey guys, welcome back. This is the most anticipated version of banana pudding, or I guess anticipated tutorial that I've done so far. So we'll jump right in. This is my famous banana pudding. Now, when it comes to a good banana pudding, you want to make sure that you have quality ingredients. Now, there are many different ways to make banana pudding. You can cook it on the stove the traditional way, but ain't nobody got time for that. So, I like to use good old Jello pudding or any type of banana pudding brand. They all work. So we've got our Hill Country Fair banana or Great Value. This is just regular vanilla. What I've seen a lot of recipes will call for 1 box of banana and 1 box of vanilla. I personally just straight up like both being banana because we do so much more to it, and I really like the flavor of the banana pudding. So I'm not going to dilute it by adding just regular vanilla pudding to it. So we're not going to do that. But we got our bananas, our pudding, our milk, sweetened condensed milk, 8 ounces of cream cheese, make sure it's fully softened, and then of course our vanilla. Now we are also going to make fresh whipped cream, and that is the kicker. A lot of people will go a shortcut. They're like, oh, I'm using pudding anyway, let's just get some Cool Whip and use that. No. Because Cool Whip does not have milk in it. It has hydrogenated oils, and you can't re-whip it. And it's just greasy, and once you've had the real thing, you just don't go back. Don't want to go back. Never. I always make my own whipped cream with heavy whipping cream. Now you can do heavy whipping cream, powdered sugar, and vanilla. Or there is a shortcut method that I've come across just by playing around, Googling things. It's by adding some pudding to your heavy whipping cream. It stabilizes it better. It keeps it from deflating. It holds up in hotter weathers better because of the gelatin that's in the pudding. So we're going to use a little bit of vanilla Jello pudding to stabilize it. You can very well use the banana cream, but this has a yellow tint to it, and we definitely want some kind of distinction between the two. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the heavy whipping cream together, so that way we have that ready to fold into our pudding. So I'm going to go ahead and get the messy stuff out of the way. So I'm going to take my cream cheese, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to make sure that it is fully, room temperature, fully softened. And it still holds its shape, but it comes off of it very, and there's almost little to nothing left. And you can take your I don't know why I have such hard times with names right now. You can take your spatula and you can scrape that extra off, or you can just let it go. It's really not going to make much of a difference. So I like getting my wet ingredients out first, because once I'm done beating my heavy whipping cream, then I'm going to go straight to beating my cream cheese. So there's really no reason to have to rinse off anything, because we're going to be incorporating it all together anyway. So go ahead, put my beaters on. Now what I do to help the whipped cream is I chill my metal bowl, and I also chill the beaters. This is something that I've always done. And so I'll go ahead and I'm going to use a full container, 1 quart of heavy whipping cream, because we're going to mix some into the pudding, and we're also going to put some on top. And you can always save it for other recipes as well, but by mixing it into your pudding, it makes it fluffy, and it just adds to it. Go ahead and get all of that out. Now I'm just making sure that there's nothing on my spatula. You don't want any extra oils or anything like that to get into your pudding, because that'll start breaking down everything that's in your pudding. So when it comes to whipping whipped cream, I always stir it up first for at least 30 seconds to a minute before adding my Jell-O to it, because I want it to be fluffy. If I add it straight up in there, it's basically just a thick pudding. You want it to be fluffy like a whipped cream. So we're going to go ahead and start blending this. I'm going to incorporate some vanilla into it. Probably about a good teaspoon. I'm not going to measure this time. And then I'm going to put in the remaining packet of my Jell-O. Now, it's not going to be a full packet. It's not even going to be half. Well, it might be roughly about half. But I have some left over from something else that I did, which is almost half of it left. And then I'm going to stick it in there, and you'll see how quickly it firms up. So I'm going to get that ready so I can put that in. Because depending on how cold this is, it may start whipping fairly quickly anyway. And we want to make sure that we get that pudding in, because this is going to be your sugar. Instead of powdered sugar, this is going to be your flavoring and your sugar into this. Now, you don't even really have to use vanilla if you don't want to, but I love vanilla, and I want to make sure that our whipped cream has that vanilla flavor to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit to it, and we'll go from there. So go ahead and whip this heavy whipping cream. Volume to it because we're adding air into it. It's not getting any thicker right now, but I do see it starting to increase in size. And that's what we want. thick it's getting. Now you don't want to over-mix this thing, but you do want to make sure that it's fully incorporated into the entire thing. Put it down a little bit more. Definitely do not want to over-whip. If you're unsure, take your spatula, scrape down the sides, turn over the bottom, and we did a really good job on making this whipped cream. It's not liquidy at the bottom at all. Whipped cream. Perfect amount of sweetness. Not too sweet at all. See how thick this is? It's gonna look beautiful. It pipes really nicely. So we're gonna go ahead and stick this in the fridge just to keep cold. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I just like to get things out of the way. So, with our banana pudding, you can opt to put vanilla into it if you want to. If not, you don't have to. So we got our cream cheese, and we're going to put in our sweetened condensed milk. It's 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. We're not going to add any extra sugars or anything to it. It is just straight up sweetened condensed milk. Go ahead and get our spatula. These spatulas fit perfectly into cans. So we'll dump it out. Scrape it out because it's thick. It'll take forever to drip out. Ain't nobody got time for that. We're going to scrape out as much as we can. Practically got everything. And throw our trash away. Take our spatula, scrape it onto our beaters. I always put aside a little bit of trash to put things on top of, so that way I'm not wasting a napkin or getting my counters dirty. So go ahead and beat this up, making sure that the cream cheese is nice and blended. Now you don't want to put milk or anything into this, because if you put liquid into it, like a thinner liquid, because this is a 2% milk, then your cream cheese won't break down as much, and then you'll have clumps of cream cheese. Now you could have whipped up the cream cheese kind of like how we did the cookies before, but you don't really have to. But we'll see how it looks, because I haven't made this in a while, but I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. So we're gonna whip this up. Nice and thick and smooth. Alright, that is awesome. Scrape down your sides. Scrape off our spatula. Alright. Now we're going to add our milk and our pudding. You don't have to do this in any particular order, as long as you get it all in there. Now it all depends on if you want a thick or thinner banana pudding. Even if you accidentally make it too thin, don't worry, because the cookies will soak up your pudding. However, if you want your cookies to stay crunchy longer, you don't want to put too much milk in there. So again, it all depends on if you want a thick or thinner pudding, as how much milk goes into it. So I put 2 of the small ones, or 1 of the large ones, banana pudding mix. Tastes exactly the same. These are just cheaper. Alright. Now, on the back of the box, it'll say 2 cups cold milk for pudding. And then for pie, 1 3/4 cup. So what I like to do is kind of split it in half, and I put roughly about 3 cups of milk into it. That's just me. If I want a little bit more pudding, then I'll add more milk, add more bananas, add more wafers, whatever the case is. It depends on what your audience is. I know a lot of kids like more wafers. Some people don't like bananas. It all just depends on what it is. So I'm going to put in roughly about 3 cups of milk, maybe a little bit more. Sometimes it spills over. I'm going to go ahead and fill up our cup. 1, 2, 3, and a little extra. Just because I didn't have them completely filled to the top. Alright, we're done with our milk. Aren't going to need any more. Go ahead and stick that back in the fridge. And get it out of the way. Aren't going to need the measuring cup anymore. Awesome. So we're going to blend this all up. Break up your powdered pudding so that way it doesn't go everywhere on you. It's kind of roughly break it up a little bit and then stir. Always start at a low setting. Incorporated, but we're just going to scrape down the sides to make sure we didn't miss anything. Always scraping. Okay. One more mix around. To get as much off of the beaters as possible. Give them to your kids to lick, whatever they want. You won't need them anymore. Okay. So our pudding, it's still a little thin. It's going to thicken up fairly quickly. So we want to add our whipped cream into our pudding here. So I like to always have some hot water going. So that's why I always rinse off my spatula at the very beginning with hot water, so that way when I'm done scraping down the sides and everything, I still have hot water in the tap. And I can rinse off that spatula really quickly, because you don't want anything that was here going into here, because then it'll mix with your topping and it won't look as pretty. So we're going to take roughly about half of it and fold it into your pudding. And the reason we fold instead of mix is because we're not trying to deflate or mix in your whipped cream. We're trying to add the fluffiness to it. So I think I put a little too much. So how thick that whipped cream is. Okay. So I like to use the whole back and forth motion. Same kind of motion that I use when I'm whipping, when I'm icing my cakes. So scrape down the sides, fold over, back and forth. It just tends to mix it in easier, blends better, I feel, than just back and forth choppy. So this is how I blend, just the whole back and forth motion, scooping the bottom over onto the cream and then kind of spreading it around, mixing it into your cream. So this is going to add fluffiness to the pudding. It's not going to be so thick and pudding-like. If you ever go to restaurants, it has an off taste to it, not as fresh. They don't do this at all, and if they do, they probably beat it in, and that just deflates everything, and you don't want that. You want to keep that creaminess, that fluffiness to it. So there are going to be some chunks from the whipped cream. You don't want to deflate all of it. You're going to bite into it and it's going to be fluffy and amazing. And trust me, it makes all the difference in the pudding. So there we go. It's not as shiny anymore because we've mixed that. This is not, pudding was shiny. Now it's not so shiny because we've mixed in the whipped cream to it. Awesome. So now we're going to take our bananas. We're going to cut them up. Now you don't want to pre-cut them up because they tend to turn brown really quickly. And you don't want brown bananas in your beautiful pudding. Definitely don't want that. So we're going to get a clay knife. I love disposable plates. Use them for everything. It just keeps me from having to clean off the countertop as much. Now, cool thing about bananas is, I'm sure you've always grew up taking the top end and bending it backwards. You can do that, but it tends to mess up the end. You can take a knife, you can slit it, open it up that way as well. But I used to love watching Animal Planet, and there's actually a backwards method that monkeys use to open up their bananas, and that's from this side. So all you have to do is pinch it and pull it, and it's super, super simple. You get a perfect banana every time. Now you can cut it in this, and you don't have to worry about making too much of a mess, or you can put it onto a paper plate and do it as well. But again, it all depends. So take off that little black piece at the end. I don't care for these string things very much. I know there's a technical word for it, but I don't recall. Alright. Take our bananas. And you can make them as thick or as thin as possible. to your preference when cutting your bananas. If you cut the bananas in each sleeve, it is tedious. So that's why I like to put it onto the paper plates, just so you can slice through quicker and you know how much banana you have left for each layer, etc., etc. Now, I don't care for too much banana in my puddings, so I tend to use either a full banana or even sometimes less than a banana in each level. So again, it really is your preference. Now, you can use a generic vanilla wafer. H-E-B has a brand. I'm sure other places have a brand, but they do taste different. So I always splurge and get vanilla wafers from Nabisco. It's just what I grew up with. I think it tastes better personally. And we also have some chessmen that my friend Anthony likes in his banana pudding. So I'm going to make him a special batch. Now, another reason why I love H-E-B is because their Tupperware is so cheap. So I like getting the deep square. It's 3 to a pack. It's like $1.87 or something like that for 3 of them. And it really makes for a perfect giveaway container. So it's a little more than 50 cents each, but you know, it's not too big, it's not too small. You can show layers. It has ounces on the sides, so you can, you know, measure it properly if you want to. Now you can layer your cookies, make it look pretty, but that'll take too long. So just putting a handful of cookies on the bottom of each one. 2 are going to be regular, and then 1 is going to be the chessmen. Oh my Anthony. The chessmen are really cool. It's a butter cookie. I particularly don't think it's as rich as the vanilla wafers because, again, I love vanilla. But these are the coolest cookies because they have different designs on them. So, like, you're actually playing chess. So it's like a king, knight, queen, etc. So 4 fit perfectly on the bottom. You can put some up the sides if you want to. Turn it out so that way you can see it's chessmen. Actually, I'm going to flip it over so that way you can see the design at the bottom. And again, these are just really fun cookies. And I'm not going to get too many layers out of it, and I'm probably not going to use these chessmen cookies for anything else, so I'm really going to hook them up when it comes to these cookies in here. Awesome. Alright, so it's a cookie, pudding, banana, cookie, pudding, banana, and that's how it's going to go. You can measure it out if you want to, but we're just eyeballing it. Can't really go wrong with the ratio, because who doesn't like banana pudding? Don't answer that. I know some people who don't like banana, like Megan. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Megan. Brandon told me you don't like bananas, so this really wouldn't be your cup of tea. But I personally do. I know Megan loves my stuff. I'm going to create a cake and call it the Megan. I just need to pick her brain on the things that she likes so I can custom design something that I can coin as hers. Although she does like a lot of my things, I do want to do something special for her, especially since it's her 30th birthday coming up. Her husband is amazing. He's taking her to Disney World. So jealous. Who knows? I might want to go too. Nah. We'll see what we do. I got some vacation time coming up. I scheduled it off with my guy prior to getting laid off at my previous job. And it's finally here. So we're going to figure out something to do. Whoops. Alright, so we've got a full banana here, just because. Oops, and on these other ones we're going to split a banana between the two. They were kind of small bananas. So one of these is already promised to my neighbor who loves banana pudding. But the other one is up for grabs. So if somebody wants to buy one of these, it's $10 for the whole thing. It's kind of my go-to number. Alright, so load them up with cookies. Kind of when I handful it, I tend to use way more, and that's why I got an extra box just in case. I really like using the mini Nilla wafers, but I couldn't find any. So I don't know what Nabisco is doing, but they need to get those small ones going. Alright. Now our chessmen. Oops. One's broken, but it's gonna taste the same anyway. So we want to make sure we have at least 4 for the top. And there's only 3 of these sleeves in the whole thing. So I'm going to pick out the prettiest ones. I'm going to do, let's see, a knight, a king, a queen, and maybe a rook or something. Let's see, knight, king, queen. I'll do a bishop. Those are the key ones. Awesome, okay. Put those in there. Scooch these over. Now it's funny, with Tupperware it tends to kind of go out, but it's all good. Alright, so we need 1 more layer of pudding each. So plop. Now when it comes to putting it into container that has a lid, you don't want to overfill because you want to save room for your whipped cream on top, and you still have to put the lid on, and there's only so much room. So because we were more heavy-handed on the pudding on the bottom, we're going to spread it out first and see how much room we have. And I always have pudding left over, so I will make 1 more pudding but I can do it without bananas. So Megan likes banana flavoring, but just not bananas. She can try this. Then again, she doesn't like cheesecake and it has cream cheese in it, so who knows? Love my Megan. Alright. So we can put some more pudding on top of these here. And we'll probably have some whipped cream left over too. But I'll probably make banana pudding shots with the extras, and I'll show you how to do those if you want. I'll do that after we turn this off, see if I have time to get the containers out for that and get it going. Awesome. Alright. Looks yummy. So, there we go. Gonna put the rest of our bananas on. Splitting our third banana because I went heavy-handed with the bananas in the first one. Because I did, we're just gonna have bananas only in the middle on that one. Plus it's kind of full. So we got 9, 9, and this is half of one, so I'll just put it here. Okay. Ooh, bananas are slimy. Okay. Clean off our spatula because we're going to do our whipped cream here in a second. We're going to do one more layer of cookies before we put our whipped cream on top. Now you can either put the cookies on top of the whipped cream or on the bottom. It's really up to you on how you want it to look. I would probably suggest putting the cookies on top of the whipped cream when it comes to a closed container, so that way the whipped cream doesn't stick to the lid. But I want y'all to see how pretty the whipped cream looks on top of this. And I'm going to save a cookie, it's a broken one, and the crumbs, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Alright, so save that for later. We're going to take our whipped cream, get a chunk of it, put it on top, chunk of it, put it on top, and chunk of it and put it on top. Okay, back and forth motion, pushing down, turning it so that way we're getting every angle without getting any on the sides. All that fresh whipped cream, all that delicious goodness covering these cookies beautifully. That mound down and pushed into your corners. So that way it all fits. Okay, so that one's pretty smooth. Do the same with these other two. Again, I'm a perfectionist to an extent when it comes to smoothing things out. I do like it to look pretty. So even though the lid's going to smush it, I still want it to be somewhat evenly distributed in our container, so that way nothing's gushing out of the sides and we're making the least amount of mess as possible. Alright, and then our last one here. Now I want to have these Chessmen cookies showing on top, unlike the wafers. I'll make it easier to tell which one's which, even though you can see it from the bottom and from the sides, but it's all good. Now see, with this one I put too much whipped cream on top, so I'm going to scrape some off. Always pulling towards the middle. And then scraping it on the sides. Smooth, smooth, smooth. And there we have it. Now, Chessmen. Oops, there's 5. I did not count that very well. Oh well. We'll do the design here. So, it fits. Yes. Awesome. Perfect. Lovely. Brilliant. Get out of the way. Alright. So with these, we want to kind of decorate the top. So you'll take a cookie, you'll break it in half. Sorry, I haven't been looking at the screen, so I have no idea if half the stuff is even showing. And then you'll take the pieces and you'll kind of scrape them against each other to create this crumble on top. That kind of broke. So I'm just going to crumble this cookie piece on top. And it's kind of like sprinkles, but cookies. And the wafer's pretty soft, so you can just push it between your fingers and do the little if you want to do that as well. Because they're fresh, it's not as bad. But if you got a lot, your fingers tend to hurt after a while. But since we just have 2, it's not so bad. Awesome, awesome. So, get all those crumbles out, the big pieces, get that texture going, get the dark crumbs, and look how better it looks than just a plain whipped cream on top. Get a little bite of that cookie. So there you have it, our banana pudding. The lid should fit just fine. And we'll go and make our shots. Should have some time to make some shots. So that's it for our banana pudding tutorial. If you want to see the little shots that I make with the extra ones, I'm going to try to find the containers and put some of those together. If not, it is what it is. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you like my version with the fresh whipped cream. Definitely adds to it, makes it fluffy, and I think it lasts longer as well. Makes it not so heavy of a dessert, but you're just gonna have to try it for yourself. So if you do, let me know how you like it. If you just want some, let me know. I've got plenty of it. See how pretty those cookies look. All the layers of cookies, 3 layers of cookies, and then our chessmen. That's just so cool. Definitely hooked them up with those cookies there. Alright, well guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like.